On Saturday, Woodbine Mohawk Park will present $2 million races, the Mohawk Million and the Metro Final. Both for 2-year-olds, one on the trot, one on the pace. And Matt and I are here to discuss that on really a stakes-filled card where we'll have free harness IPPs available by checking out the QR code on your screen. Huge card, $100,000 guaranteed pick 5 starting in race 6, all stakes races, including the two we're going to discuss, starting with race number 8, the Metro Final. $1 million, as we discussed. This is for the Pacers. It's $1 million Canadian, so maybe a little bit less, Matt, but it's still big time money.
The first thing that you see as you look at the entries, two horses that stand out about as much as horses can stand out in an 11-horse field, with Bojangles listed at even money and Frantic Hanover listed at 6-5, and they are both 7 for 7 lifetime. So I guess unless they dead heat for win, which is entirely possible, one of them is going to go down. One of their undefeated records are going to go down. But I think the obvious question to ask is there anyone else in the field that can step up and beat either one of these horses?
Well, before we get to that, I want to play a little of who do you like more? That's what we're going to play here. We're going to take a look at the 2 eliminations from last week. Each one of these horses started in a different one. First, we're looking at Bojangles right now, and we're going to watch his winning effort. Then we'll watch the winning effort of Frantic Hanover, and I'm going to see which one Matt likes better. Bojangles, under a little bit of urging, but clearly a pretty easy winner, Matt.
I don't know is it urging or is it just, I don't know, keep him to task, or however you would say that. Either way, both these horses, Bojangles and Frantic Hanover, cruised in their eliminations. One was used, one went faster, one rated that, they both look like easy front end races, but both of them had to make multiple moves to win.
Wouldn't you say
Frantic Hanover?
Wouldn't you say Frantic Hanover looked a little bit better? Just a little bit. I'm not saying a lot. A little bit better.
You mean when you say looks better? What? Because he wasn't urged? Because his gait looks better? Or
because
what exactly basing that on?
He never felt the whip. We'll start with that. Okay. And he went faster. How about that?
Okay. So, with that said, do you agree with the favoritism here with Bojangles over Frantic Hanover? One of them is a strictly Canadian races. The other one is strictly Pennsylvania races up until last week. Does the morning line have it correct?
I think the morning line has it correct because the race is being held in Canada. I think if the race was being held in the U.S., I think I would swap them around. But because it's in Canada, I think Bojangles will probably take more money than Frantic Hanover. And you know what? That's fine with me. From my perspective as a person who, right now, I think Frantic Hanover might be a little bit better for the Ron Burke barn, which seemingly is winning every single race they're in now. I mean, they're on fire.
You said they're winning every single race now, like that's only now recently the case when they win everywhere with top horses and well classified and well prepped, and you can always count on one of the Burke brigade to be showing up. This one has Tim Tetrick as the regular driver, which is kind of interesting. If we compare the two elimination races, I think I was more impressed with Bojangles. I really was, even though the charted line looks simple. Oh, he went to the front and rated or whatever, but he showed like a really sharp burst of speed off the gate to clear the field. And he had to make 2 moves because around the 3/8 he had to yield to a horse and then retook. So there's more than meets the eye when you're just looking at the charted line. You can make the same case. Frantic Hanover just settled in early and brushed when the pace slowed and sprinted off. So, to be honest with you, I liked Bojangles' elimination race better. Yeah, was it slightly slower or whatever? It wasn't really. I mean, I don't know. I just like him better.
I mean, you can make the case looking at this, just looking at the PP lines. Bojangles maybe faced the better foe in facing Al Papi, who he beat by a length and 3/4. And the last time Frantic Hanover faced Al Papi, which was in the Sire Stakes final in Pennsylvania, right? Beat him by a length and 3/4. Maybe we will get that dead heat you want, Matt.
Listen, any way you slice it, these are two extremely talented 2-year-olds that I expect will put on quite a show here. And that brings me A, to which one do you like, and B, who else can possibly step up here? Maybe split the two horses up if you don't think they can win. Is there anyone else beside, or is it just a cold, 2-5 or 5-2? I mean, what are we looking at here?
I think it is cold. Why don't we throw our picks up on the screen and we could discuss, who we might like also in the race here. But I went Frantic Hanover and I won a 2-5 cold exacta. I don't see which other horse is going to be able to split them. I mean, listen, we're still talking about 2-year-olds, so anything is possible here. I think Al Papi is the most likely, to get involved. I think he's probably the most talented, and we've seen him battling with Frantic Hanover a lot this year. If I was going to throw a little bit of a long shot into the play, number 7, Redland Rocket Man. I had to double check, that I was going to say that one right. I just like the way he came home last time, and I feel like if another horse is going to get involved, it's going to be because, the favorites are battling too hard, and, someone's going to have to come closing. And I thought this guy closed reasonably well last time with no chance, so that's why I threw him on the number.
All right, so you pronounced the horse's name correctly. Now pronounce the driver's name correctly.
Louis Philippe Roy.
Okay, close enough. I looked at Fragment, maybe underneath these two. Jason Bartlett was having an absolute career year in what's going to be a Hall of Fame career. This guy just breezed through basically the New York Sire Stakes program, and he was an okay fourth in the Metro Elimination. Nothing exciting, but he's definitely got a winning habit. Like I said, racing in all those half-mile races, stretched out to a mile here, and maybe Bartlett's one of the guys that takes a shot leaving off the gate, try to settle in maybe 3rd, 4th, or 5th or something like that, and can save ground and hit the ticket. And then I went with Al Papi, who, like you mentioned, is one of the more logical ones to finish in the money. But it's interesting. We have, I guess, dueling selections here.
Yeah, well, we're going head to head, and like the horses probably will in the race. And we're going to move on to race number 10 on the card, and that is the $1 million Mohawk Million. And just a reminder, I mean, just because this is the last stakes race on the card doesn't mean you should go home, because there's a mandatory payout in the high 5 in race number 13. I don't know, the pool is still growing, so I can't give you an exact figure, but you'll definitely want to check out the mandatory payout high 5 in the finale on the card. And while the Metro is, down to just 2 horses, I think we can widen this one out to, let's say, 3 to 5 horses, so to speak, and maybe another horse can pop up out of nowhere, Matt.
I had a very, very tough time with this race, to be honest with you. I don't know if I see this cut and dry as the 6, 3, and 1 in order of morning line favoritism. I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. I struggle here, and I'm not in love with anybody particularly. So that's why I kind of, stretched out to like the second tier of horses, at least, probably in the betting. And I went to an old favorite, Oki Svanstedt, with the 7, Dublin Hanover, who is coming off a career effort. I love the progression in his last 3 starts, culminating with winning the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes quite easily, final that is at Philly. And you know what? We've seen Oki Svanstedt get aggressive. We've seen him upset. We've seen him be race horses aggressively, regardless of their odds. And I don't know. It's just honestly, it's a stab in the dark.
It really is a really good race, and probably the best edition of the Mohawk Million we've seen. And I mean, we've seen Sire Stakes get more and more powerful, and the purses go up in these things, and all these different regions dominating,
Right.
getting their horses. And what's cool here is you have the New York Sire Stakes final champion, the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes final champion, the Kentucky Sire Stakes final champion, and the New Jersey Sire Stakes final champion, all coming together in one race, which should make, for very good theater.
Which is why I had so much trouble, I guess, being able to separate any of these horses and how they stack up against each other class-wise, which is why I figured I'm going to take a price with a horse that I think can prove to be every bit as talented as anyone else in here.
Something I rarely do. We're talking about how to compare, these horses from all these different regions who are coming together for the first time, really to face each other. We have the harness eye past performances. We have what we call the I rating. I used air quotes with my I rating, but you couldn't see it on the screen. And when you look at the I rating for this particular race, there's only a few horses that get above 90. Apex has done it a few times, 3 times. Silverstein has done it once. Ardone has done it once. Endurance has done it 3 times and actually has the highest figure in the race at 94 one time. And that's it. No one else has ever, gone above it. So that would mean that Dublin Hanover, his top number is 84. He would have to jump up probably a good 10 points, which is, a
Right.
couple lengths. That doesn't mean he can't. I'm just saying it's a good way to, try to compare, horses that are racing in different jurisdictions, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like the Beyer speed figure in thoroughbred racing. Again, maybe it's obvious to go with the top numbers, but how about improving numbers? Maybe if a horse doesn't get the fastest figure, but he keeps stepping up or like raising that mark or lowering his speed mark. Sometimes the sharp horse that's improving has an even better effort on tap. And
to that point, Matt, to that point, your horse has gone from 62 to 79 to 80 to 84. So the horse is moving, his way up. And maybe you're right. Maybe he's just, still peaking and has another top. I want to take a look at a replay here from number 1, Apex. And that was last start to Peter Houghton, at Hoosier Park. And you're going to see, Dexter Dunn kind of takes a little Braven and Tuck. This is a race, really, he had every reason to lose. They went 57 and 1 to the half, 126 and 1 to 3/4. That was pretty slow. And Dexter's just like, really confident and, cool as a cucumber, so to speak, in the bike and just cruises by. A pretty nice horse in Magic Punk, Matt.
Yeah, that was also my top pick in that race, who got run over by Apex. Who, like you said, methodically grinded up and then kind of drafted in behind. And I think Dexter had him measured off, from the top of the stretch all the way to the wire, basically. So, and then we saw his win in the New Jersey Classic final, the prior starts when he won comfortably by a bunch of lengths. Maybe it was because there was a late breaker that made the margin of victory greater, but still it was a solid win. Yeah, he's obviously one of the top horses in here, and maybe goes off the favorite. You can make the argument that starting from the post 1 is not the best starting spot at Mohawk with trotters. One could make that argument. I've heard it mentioned many times in the past, which leaves maybe middle of the pack post positions like Endurance, who's 6 for 7. Is starting from post 6 is probably better than starting from post 1. I don't know if you're in agreement with that or not, but plus with his speed, you got to figure that he's going to be, near the front at some point, and Apex may be facing an uncertain trip. The horse we didn't talk about is Ardon, who I believe is one of your top selections here. And what do you like about him?
Well, I mean, what's not to like? He already won the Wellwood over this track. He's 2 for 2 over the track. The last time he met up with Apex was in the New Jersey Sire Stakes final. Only lost by a head, so it's pretty close. He was right there. I think he makes a lot of sense. And why don't we put our picks up on the screen? You can see where both of us went. Well, I'll start because Matt already told you the conclusion to the story before he told you about the story. So he cut right to the chase by telling you who he liked. I like Apex here. I don't love the inside post, but I don't think Dexter Dunn was ever going to gun out here. I think he was kind of going to take his time, and I think this is a horse that we've seen just continues to improve every single start. it's not making big jumps. But when we talk about the ratings, he was 3 starts back. He was an 80, and then he was a 90, and then he was a 91. He's getting a little bit better every start. And Marcus Melander's done an absolute excellent job with this horse, and that's why I made him the top pick. I respect Ardone a lot. I think he's got a big shot in here, and it's probably going to be. I don't know if he's going to be forwardly placed. It'd be interesting to see if Scott Zeron tries to wait for Apex and follow that one's cover.
Well, here, I'll stop you right there. You think Dexter Dunn has no intentions of being forwardly placed. Does he have to move earlier than he probably would want to because he's starting from the rail and might have to get flushed out earlier?
That's really the question. The question is Dexter going to, just, come away however his horse wants to come away and make a quick brush to the lead, or is he going to come first over? If he ends up coming first over, I really do think he could still win, but obviously I don't want him to be first over. And if he does that and Ardone decides to follow, then Ardone's sitting in the perfect spot. And obviously I respect Endurance. Endurance is my third pick. Diabolic Kill is a horse I threw on my ticket. Horse has gone through a couple of problems, where just hasn't been finishing up the miles properly, gets a little lazy at the end. Maybe with, new tactics here, because clearly they're going to have to race him from off the pace, I would think, in this spot. Maybe this horse will fire home really strong, and put up a big performance at huge odds, Matt.
It is a driver change from Andy to Todd McCarthy, as Andrew McCarthy understandably sticks with Endurance. I looked at another horse coming from Lexington who finished third in the Sire 6 final, Silverstein, for Ohio-based trainer Matthew Burkholder. Does a great job with his stable horses, and apparently he's got a nice one here. He's only got one win in 8 starts, but he's hit the board, I believe, if I'm adding right, 7 of the 8. He's in a spot with Dave Miller to save ground, and I think he can pick up a very, very nice piece of this from post 2, where maybe he sits mid-pack. So, and like I mentioned, when I gave away the whole story early on, according to you, I had a very tough time. So I'm going with a double-digit price.
Well, that's a look at the $2 million races on Saturday at Woodbine Mohawk Park. The action starts at 6:35. There's 13 races on the card. Mandatory high five payout in the finale. Races 6 through 10 have a guaranteed $100,000 all states pick 5. And I believe there's a $75,000 pick 5. Starts in the opener. Good luck.